The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
We have a question today from Stan, who writes to us from Roanoke, Virginia. And Stan writes, I am a 27-year veteran of the US Navy. Thank you, Stan, for your service. And for the first time in my life, I felt ashamed of my beloved branch of service. The war in Iran is becoming increasingly concerning as the days pass by. The cost of the war is estimated at around $1 billion a day. Gas prices continue to increase. More servicemen and women are killed every day. The administration appears to have no coherent plan or strategy, and now it has been hinted that our next target could be Cuba. What the hell are we doing? But my question is more along moral lines. Hegseth seems to have approved of an almost unrestricted war strategy. Now it looks like the girls' school was bombed by us. Over 150 young girls were killed, and there is the sinking of the Iranian frigate in international waters. Yet now, reports are emerging that the frigate was returning from an invited war game and was unarmed, as were the conditions of the war games. To make this worse, after sinking the frigate, the US submarine didn't even try to rescue survivors. Even the Germans in World War II would assist survivors. The fact that our military is acting in this way is appalling. But even worse, the American people seem quite all right with these tactics. It seems we are determined to play the bad guy. Do you think our military leaders will recognize these as war crimes and begin to refuse to be a party in all this? Should the captain of the US submarine be charged? Finally, if we pull out of Iran, do you think we might actually go after Cuba? And the answer to that last question is yes, I do think so. And after that, it's going to be Canada. And somewhere after that, probably Greenland again, although I don't know about Greenland, but definitely Canada and absolutely Cuba, yes. So, Mark, Scott, your thoughts?
Well, we're still getting information on this sinking of the Iranian frigate. Let's wait and see what really comes out with it. If the reporting is true, somebody needs to answer up for it. There's no doubt about it. Again, the reporting is that this Iranian frigate was invited to a war game with one of our allies, and they were supposed to come unarmed, as was the submarine, which obviously was not unarmed, and basically they sunk a defenseless ship. Now, again, this could be all bullshit. Not sure at this point in time. Will we ever know? All depends on if our government, that transparency, this most transparent government ever, supposedly, whether or not they want to be transparent. That is absolutely appalling. And regardless, let's say it was armed. Let's say it wasn't at the war game. Let's say all of that is true. And Stan, I agree with you. My father was in the Navy. You know, when you do, there's kind of a brotherhood of men at sea, of people that go to sea. And yeah, if you've got survivors, you're really obligated to go and try to rescue as many as you can. You've destroyed the asset. You've destroyed the ship. Rescuing survivors, and I guess a different Navy was the one that came out and rescued, I think it was 87 survivors. But the question is why didn't the US submarine do that? They should have. They were right there. As for the girls' school, again, it all depends on who you're listening to. Trump is saying, no, it wasn't us. No, it was the Iranians. Hard to tell. I mean, again, I hate to say fog of war, but taking a page out of Scott's book, any information that we're getting from the Middle East, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because they're all going to, frame it the way that they want to frame it. and to make themselves look in the best light. So hard to tell. Will we go after Cuba? Don't have any idea. Although I would disagree with Brooklyn. We're not going after Canada. That is not going to happen. Canada that's a completely different kettle of fish right there. To me, that's a little on the alarmist side because I think the Canadians are pretty safe. They're capable. They wouldn't make it easy. And to those people in the Republican Party, the Trumpettes that want this, I got bad news for you. If Canada was to be the 51st state, that'd be a Democratic state. So probably not the most thought out plan in the world. Cuba, the question comes down to it. All right, if this was to happen, if, the idea of Marco Rubio really wanting to go do something with Cuba is true and is something that they're looking at, what are you going to do with it? And I really think that that's the real question that we have here. What is it exactly you plan on doing with it? Economically, Cuba is decades behind, and they always have been. So what exactly is it that you plan on doing? And if you don't think that you would, we've said this so many times, easy to take, damn hard to hang on to. And the Cubans have shown themselves to be pretty good guerrilla fighters when they want to be. And I don't know. I think the return on investment there would not even be close. And yes, Stan, you're right. This war is costing us $1 billion a day. And I really don't see that we're gaining any benefit whatsoever. Matter of fact, I could see that it actually is getting worse. Old Scott.
Whoa. Well, first, thank you, Stan, for your service. Really appreciate it. I don't think that you need to apologize for the Navy or feel bad about it. I mean, they did their job. I don't know what information the captain may have had about the circumstances of that ship that they sunk. I do think it's rather disgraceful that they didn't come up and rescue the sailors instead of leaving them to die. That might be something that he needs to answer for. And, if he was under direct orders to just get out of there, I guess that somewhat mitigates the circumstances, although, it didn't work for the Nazis. It didn't work for Lieutenant Calley. It's not an excuse, really, to follow illegal orders. Yeah, this is a really tough situation that we're in because it looks like we have no idea what we were doing, and we never did in this situation. I mean, I guess the first truth of war is that it's easier to get into a war than get out of a war, and the ease here was just way too easy to just start bombing them without having any sense of what comes next. Forget about what comes later. I mean, even like the next step. I mean, we've said it so many times over the years that Trump lives like 5 minutes at a time, and he'll do anything that he has to do to live through this 5 minutes. He'll bluff, he'll lie, he'll make things up, he'll improvise his way for the next 5 minutes without thinking what the repercussions are of what he's saying now and what it means for the 5 minutes following that, because he'll get there when he gets there. And he'll make something else up, and he'll do something else that gets him through that 5 minutes. And that really is the worst way to think when you are committing troops and committing assets and killing people. Just a horrific set of circumstances that we're living under right now. And I mean, if you could be embarrassed of your Navy, we should all be embarrassed of the United States of America. I have never seen anything like what's going on right now. And I'll go here and start with this. Never in a million years could anybody ever think that with our defense budget of $886 billion, we would run out of arms. But it appears that we have. That we're scrambling for missiles, that Trump had to call in the heads of the defense contractors and say, you need to get moving on getting us more Tomahawk missiles and Patriot missiles to shoot down their ballistic missiles and drones. And he's had to go hat in hand to Vladimir Zelensky to ask him for tips on how to fight the drone war, because Ukraine has more experience at it. But here's the thing that should scare every American and every person in the world. Last June, after the bombing that supposedly got rid of Iran's entire nuclear program, the International Atomic Energy Agency estimated that Iran had more than 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% purity, right? That's enough fissile material, with a little bit more processing for 10 nuclear weapons. Now, following these strikes last week, the agency cannot confirm the size or the location of that stockpile. We don't know where hundreds of kilograms of near weapons grade fissile material is right now, or how to get a hold of it. That's scary. And that really should concern everybody, and should be the number one thing that the American people demand of this administration, is that they go and get that stockpile, no matter what it takes for them to do it, including putting troops in, including having allies join us and rush in, or whatever it takes. That has to be number one. You can't do it by bombing. You might be able to do it with deployment, but I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. However we're going to go about that is just made more difficult by the decisions that have already been made. So that's one thing. I mean, or two things, I guess. I mean, this war is costing $1 billion a day. We didn't need it. It didn't make any sense. We didn't have to have it. We don't have any clear objectives. I'm sure even at this time, a week and a half later, that there is no clear goal here. There's no objectives. And, for years I've been teaching and teaching the lessons that I learned from being in business. And one of those lessons is, time and time and time again, I have consulted with C-level executives, presidents of companies, who have told me that what their strategy is, mistaking strategy for tactics, and not having any kind of clear objective. And you have to have a clear objective if you're going to get anything done. And this administration has no clear objective. Are we trying to get rid of their nuclear program, which already thought we did, or we're told we did? Are we simply going to try to achieve regime change? Because that hasn't happened. We've swapped out one Ayatollah Khamenei for another, a younger one who's got to be bitter. His entire family was killed, not just his father, but his wife and children, mother. Are we trying to induce Iran to change their behavior, to change their focus? I don't know how that's happen. Or are we trying to degrade their ability to project power, right? Which really seems to be the goal right now, from what I can see, is that we're trying to eliminate any way that they can do anything. But as long as they've got that fissile material, we're not gonna sleep at night comfortably knowing that that's out there. And here's the big deal about it, right? Because you hear people all the time saying, well, we don't have a clear objective. And people may wonder, well, why is that so necessary? It's necessary because all of these things require different wars. They require it's a different war altogether, different strategies, different resources, different timelines, different post-conflict planning. If you imagine them doing that, and also different definitions of what victory means, how you won. So we start with the idea that it's easier to get into a war than out of it. Yep, true. But it's also true that history judges wars not by how well they start, but by how they end. And this one is going to end badly, I fear. And we're in a bad spot. I don't know about Haiti. I mean, Haiti's fallen apart, I'm sure, without much help internationally. I don't know about the rest of it. I think from here he turns inward, and we're all the targets, not anybody on the outside.
Oh, you mean Cuba?
No, I meant Cuba. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I said Haiti, right? Cuba. Yeah, yeah. No, I think we're the target now. And I actually read something last night in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep that really that really set me off, which is that there's like secret plans being drawn up for how to maneuver within the United States of America and make sure that Trump's dictatorship, or this Christian dictatorship that he seems to be spearheaded, as bizarre as that sounds, is going to come to fruition. So anyway, it's another topic for them.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. What I wanted to say are a couple of things, and I think one reason that I feel so chaotic in my mind, which I do normally, is that there again the Steve Bannon flood the zone. I mean, there's, as you say, you have to have a clear objective because everything else is it's a different war. According to the State Department website, there were supposed to be 3 goals: get rid of the Navy in Iran, get rid of the factories that produce the drones, and there was one other get rid of the launchers that launch the drones, something like that. And so according to those 3 goals, the situation, I mean, the war, according to that, is over. However, to your point, since this is an illegal war, I very much doubt our allies are going to join us, if we even have any allies left. And when I was thinking about the fissile material, according to the Omanis and what I understand of the talks before, on the Friday, before this started, the bombing started, the Iranians had offered a deal that was better than the one that Obama had, where the fissile material would be tracked and everything would be taken, everything would be checked and tracked and monitored and everything else. And Kushner and Witkoff didn't say anything when they came out of the meeting. I don't know. I mean, that would have been flawed as any of these diplomatic agreements are. It was better than what we have now. I also understand that the Iranians are mining the Strait of Hormuz, which means that no one is going to be sailing through there. Another very important point is that fertilizer, a critical part of fertilizer, needs to go through there for people's planting, and that is not going to happen either. And the other oil producers, the other Gulf states, are going to have to, they've reached their storage capacity or will be reaching it soon, and they're going to have to shut down their production. Scott Besson apparently asked Trump if he would start releasing some of our strategic oil reserve to help lower prices, and Trump wasn't interested in that. He said that he's fine having prices go up. It doesn't bother him at all. I'm sure it doesn't bother him at all. So there's going to be a lot more pain for us, also due to our food supply, as I understand it, because farmers need the artificial fertilizer for planting, and we also have many fewer workers here to help plant our crops, which I don't think anybody has been thinking about. I was also thinking about how the Iranian leadership, they all met in one location above ground. And remembering back to the time, which was like September 30th, 2025, when Pete Hegseth so brilliantly had all the United States generals, like 800 people, meeting him above ground, as far as I know, and Trump was there. I mean, if anybody had wanted to fire a missile at the United States, they could have wiped out every single general and the Secretary of Defense and possibly the Commander-in-Chief all at one time. So, I mean, when people talk about how unintelligent the Iranians were by having all their leadership in one place at one time, hey, we beat them to it, and no one took advantage of that. So, to me, the I don't know how close the Iranians are to having 90%. My understanding is to go from 60% to 90% enrichment is not that large of a jump. I'm not obviously not a nuclear weapons expert, or I'm not a physicist either. That's my understanding. I don't know what's involved, spinning it in a centrifuge, and I don't know what else is involved. But the fact that Iran is continuing to shoot out drones and missiles, and they have plenty, and we've run out, and they're mining the Strait of Hormuz, suggests to me that they are in this for the long haul. And I also want to make one point about the girls' school before I forget, and something else that Trump said. Trump said that we are winning, but we need to do more winning. And he said that we're nearing the end of the war. Hegseth said that we're just getting started. And Trump was asked about that why the difference? And Trump said, well, we're at the beginning and we're at the end. And we're also at the end. We're at the beginning, but we're at the end. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? So somehow we're at the beginning and we're at the end at the same time. Obviously, they don't know what they're doing. So no ally in their right mind, if, as I said, we even have allies, is going to join an illegal war when we clearly don't know what we're doing. And the other point I want to make about the girls' school is Trump is denying that we did this. There's the very evident fin of a Tomahawk missile that was found. The New York Times said it's very clear that this was our missile. According to Trump, the Iranians bombed it themselves, and they have Tomahawk missiles, which means that we sold them Tomahawk missiles. And he wishes they had more Tomahawk missiles. I don't think he even knows what he's talking about. Okay.
Nah.
I mean, we sell Tomahawks only to a few select countries. I think Japan, maybe. I'm not sure about South Korea. I don't think they purchased any. And maybe Israel. I'm not sure. There are very few countries we sell these missiles to, and they're big. You can't just walk away, and they're all enumerated. I mean, there's a number on them, a manufacturing number, and they're in a database. So you know which missile was fired and when and whatnot, and you can track them. So no one is just going to walk off with one of these.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing.
We fired the missile, Brooke. I mean, it was, Trump can.
Of course we did.
Trump can deny it all he wants.
These poor kids.
But you don't have to go through. You don't have to go through the entire supply chain to figure this out. This was.
I know, but why can't he simply say so? Then he says, "Well, I don't know. This is just what I was."
Because
told.
He doesn't like to live in reality. He likes to live in Trump land.
It's awful. This is terrible.
Well, I mean, take your choice. Unfortunately, you only have two. Take your choice of his remarks, which are like he wants to deny that we did this, and in his opinion, somebody else shot the missile, right? Which is ridiculous because it's not a matter of opinion. And in Hegseth's, which is like we're punching them when they're down, and if we have to kill their daughters, we will.
That's horrible.
Right, absolutely. And we're committing war crimes. We're committing crimes against humanity. We attacked a desalinization plant, which is the only way that the people there get clean water to drink.
And apparently we're blowing up oil plants as well.
Oil plants and the oil went through the sewer system in Tehran and was on fire. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
It's horrible.
Look, but we have to be clear-eyed about it as best we can. But here's the thing. This was in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, and this is the thing that I think really says that this is a Trump war, okay? Because it's just like what he said on Liberation Day about tariffs, and Apparently, he was mistaking tariffs for a way to make up for trade deficits in a lot of cases, and then the trade deficit actually went up after that. Iran is exporting more oil through the Strait of Hormuz than it was before the war.
What?
Iran has loaded 7 tankers full of oil on the Iranian coast, and over the past 6 days, they're loading 2.1 million barrels of Iranian oil, which is higher than 2 million barrels a day that they exported in February. They're exporting more oil through the strait now than they were before the war. So,
okay, and no one is going to activate the 25th Amendment or do anything about this man. And this is one reason why, Mark, I say that Canada is next, because there are Iranian Canadians. There's a list apparently of 29 Iranian Canadians or Iranians living in Canada who actually should be deported because they do pose a threat. Apparently, from what I read, Canada has deported 1. And all Trump has to say is, there's danger up there, danger, national security alert, danger, danger, warning, warning, and he can get started on people in Canada.
Okay,
Iranians
I'm sorry.
in Canada.
I'm sorry. I can't do that. 29 people. We're going to attack a country of, I don't know, so many million. No, that is no. I can't.
Right. I hope you're right. Please be right.
I cannot subscribe to that. Right. To me is almost as delusional as Trump himself.
Oh, good. Well, I hope you're right. But I do understand that the Trump regime here is suppressing the higher threat warning of internal terrorism in this country,
and he should.
What he's doing.
And he should.
Suppress
I mean, the fact is, our threat warning should be up. We should.
No, he's suppressing it. He's suppressing information. Yes, he is suppressing the information that we here at home are under greater danger from at-home terrorism. The threat level here is higher, and he is suppressing that information because of what he's doing.
Yeah, this is true. And he's suppressing the information that would go to local police as to what they could do and what they need to be looking out for. And he buried that report and wouldn't let them put it out.
This is why our listeners need to listen to global news.
Yes.
Plus,
right?
Yes, please.
Plus, of course, Kash Patel tried to get back into Trump's good graces after his display in the hockey locker room. Fired all the people who were in charge of tracking Iranian terrorists in the United States from the FBI because they had looked in the documents case down in Florida. So we're in really bad shape right now. Again, you judge a war by, do you come out stronger or weaker? Is there any doubt in anybody's mind that we're coming out of this one weaker? We have, for some reason, even with our expense budget, and I don't want to go into the whole steak and lobster and king crab thing that has already been discussed elsewhere. Because companies do spend down at the end of the year and to not lose their budget item. So whatever he was spending his money on, I'm sure it wasn't Hegseth's. It wasn't just Hegseth. I'm sure the Pentagon does that all the time, no matter who's in the White House. And it's particularly disgraceful at this particular time because we're fighting in so many different places and having to move aircraft carriers around in so many different places. And the budget really should, be used for defense and not making war, and certainly not buying king crab and ribeye steaks. So we're coming out of this war weaker, and I think our adversaries know it. And I don't think that this was a very good move.
No, I'm very depressed now that I've learned from my fellow panel members that I could not go down to Home Depot and buy a Tomahawk missile. I was really kind of planning on that, and now it turns out I can't do that, and so I'm very depressed about that. And back to Stan's point, and no, Stan, you don't have to be ashamed of the Navy. Although I think that if my father was still alive, he'd have the same thought on this as you did. That this is not the Navy that he served in. That there are rules, and whether we like it or not, war sucks. War absolutely sucks. But there are some just unwritten and written rules that it's what keeps us, supposedly gives us some moral standing. And I really think that's what the point of your email was. War is terrible. People die. There's no doubt about that. People die in horrible ways. Civilians get killed. Absolutely. It is, unfortunately, when you're talking about armies, it's not a scalpel. It's a sledgehammer. We've said that numerous times here before. But what you're talking about is the morality of this whole thing. Will those sailors on that submarine have to live with the shame if they know that what they did was wrong? How would we feel if one of our aircraft carriers was struck and the Navy that struck it didn't do anything to rescue any of the survivors? It's almost like, there was this unwritten rule of you don't shoot paratroopers until they're on the ground. I mean, it was just that was just known. That was the humanity of a totally inhumane situation. So I think that's, again, yeah. And you're right. The American people seem perfectly fine with this, which absolutely doesn't give me an awful lot of faith in the American people. But haven't had a lot of faith in the American people for quite some time anyway. So it just reinforces that.
I think the American people are getting burned out by all this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think there was Trump fatigue before this, but now it's really deep.
Yeah. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!